What's up, guys? David Land here, bringing you something I've wanted to do for a pretty long time and just have never really gotten around to it, and now I have gotten around to it. This is an unboxing of my childhood NASCAR diecast collection. I think a lot of people have wanted me to do this. I've seen some people do it on YouTube, but not too many. So maybe I'll start a trend here. But I found this dusty box, a Hot Wheels carrying case that had most of my collection from my childhood in there. It's not complete. There are a few cars missing. I think those are in other boxes somewhere else. But it's a good cross section of my collection and what I played with as a kid, and there are some great stories behind these cars, and hopefully you guys will enjoy watching this. And for those of you who will get nostalgia out of it, will get nostalgia, and for those of you who weren't around when these cars were on diecast shelves, maybe you'll learn something. So let me know in the comments some memories you have of these cars as I get them out and take a look at them. So we're just kind of going to go from the top and work our way to the bottom. I think there's about 20-something cars in here. Somebody will be able to do the math better than I. But we're going to start out here in the top left corner, and if this doesn't fall over before the end, I'll be very surprised. And this is probably the most modern car I have in this box here. It's a Hot Wheels Ryan Newman All-Tail car. A really cool-looking scheme. Obviously, it's the Dodge. There's just a little bit of scoring there. Obviously, you know, as I got older, I got more nice with my cars. But this was a car that I acquired because back in the day, my family used to treat the Brickyard 400 a lot like we did the Indy 500, in which it was a big family reunion and party and all that stuff. And so I think this was like an anniversary, like maybe the 10th anniversary of us going to the Brickyard. I think this was 2004, so it would have been 94 to 2004. And so we put this car on top of the cake. Now, this may be a little bit gross here on the bottom, but there's actually still residue from the cake that we put it, and I swear I watched this as a kid 100 times, and whatever that cake was, it was obviously like nuclear, and you couldn't get rid of it. So as you can see, I think it says 2001 Intrepid, excuse me, easy for me to say. Yeah, it's got the rubber tires. It's made by Hot Wheels. It's a really cool looking car. It feels very nice. It's a nice die-cast car, plastic base though, but rubber tires. I think it costed about $5, and I think we got it at Walmart. Ooh, that was close. And we're going to put all these cars back in because we don't want to get them falling out before we need to. Another car here. We've got number 96 Caterpillar car. I believe this is David Green. Yes, indeed, as you can see on the top there. Obviously, this one got a lot of play. I actually had, this is a part of the pro racing segment of Hot Wheels, so you may have seen a few of those cars from the kart segment on my channel, but I never had the kart cars as a kid. I had a lot of the NASCARs, and obviously this is one of them. And obviously this is a Chevy Monte Carlo before the Cat team went to Pontiac bodies. Metal base, and in fact it's a painted black base, as you can see, 1996. This is another Hot Wheels with rubber tires. I also had a kind of a slot car version of this. It was a Hot Wheels version of slot cars where you would charge the cars up and you would send them around a track. It was really fun, and I think I still have that car somewhere, so maybe we'll be taking a look at those at some point, though I think the car isn't as motorized as it used to be. But yeah, the Caterpillar scheme has been around in NASCAR since the beginning of time. And let's take a look at this car right here, because this is a promotional item from Dodge for the 2001 Daytona 500. Obviously, the Dodge cars are going to be much more modern, or the more modern and less beat-up cars as we get further and further into my childhood. This is a beautiful paint scheme, Bill Elliott. You could get these in cereal boxes. So you would buy like a cereal box, and they would have the diecast in there. Which is really cool. I think they had most of the Dodge teams for the 2001 Daytona 500. And this is a really nice looking diecast. It's amazing that they gave these away just in cereal boxes, because it's just a beautiful looking car. And yeah, the Dodge schemes were very nice, especially the Evernham factory team livery, where it was just, you know, Dodge in big red letters. So here's a car that's very interesting. The Chicago Bears NFL Racing paint scheme. Joe Gibbs Racing. I believe this is a Dale Jarrett car. Indeed, it is. Now, I didn't have this car as a child. I actually bought it, I think at a third grade, we kind of did this thing that I guess probably isn't PC to do anymore. I think it was like I guess we'll call it a Native American trading post. I don't know if it would be very PC to call it an Indian trading post, but we did a trading post where we traded some. I think we just traded items. So you would go and barter with other people. I think I created some race cars out of these like those iron on plastic little bits. That was very interesting, and I would trade those for other things, and this was one of the things I traded for. So I didn't have this for very long, but somehow it ended up in my childhood collection. Obviously a really cool car. I think this one's made by Racing Champions, if I'm not mistaken. Indeed it is, but it's from 91, so this is a very, very old diecast here, and it's not going to be the only Interstate Batteries car you'll see. So here's another car that's kind of important, and it was in fact the first Dale Earnhardt car I ever owned, which is the 96 Olympic paint scheme. I remember getting this, I think, around 97, 98. It was just, I think, a random gift from my mom. Just handed me a car one day and was like, here you go, son. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, Olympics in Atlanta, 96. Obviously, this car got a lot of wear. You NASCAR Authentics fans will notice this car because Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran a paint scheme kind of in tribute to this recently, and in fact it was in Lionel's NASCAR Authentics. It's got a plastic base, and I believe, who is this produced by? Revell. So Revell produced this car. It's got rubber tires and a metal top, but it's a very nice looking car. Another very nice looking car. Most of these cars, I will say, are very nice looking. And here is a classic. Another car that was recently thrown back to and in NASCAR Authentics, but Mark Martin's number 6 Valvoline car. A beautiful paint scheme produced by Racing Champions. And on the Thunderbird body from Racing Champions. So you get a very boxy looking car. And this was one of the cars as a kid I always had running up at the front. There's a little bit of hair on there that obviously from play, I think, running it on the carpet and whatnot, as you can see. Roush Racing, Racing Champions, the big meaty tires there, and you guys complained about Spin Masters tires. But yeah, just a really beautiful Ford Thunderbird. Obviously, it's been in the wall a few times, very beat up, but a very beautiful looking paint scheme still to this day. And this is definitely one of the diecasts that I really enjoyed as a kid. So let's move on to yet another Interstate Batteries car. I actually had 2 of these as a kid. The other one had a paperclip stuck in the back of it, but this is not the paperclip version of that. Yeah, Pontiac Grand Prix, obviously NFL, the very similar paint scheme to the one up there, the Dale Jarrett, but this is a Bobby Labonte. Obviously, this one got a lot of use as well because it was kind of a front-running car in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s when I would have been playing hardcore with NASCAR cars. So this one got a lot of play time. Obviously, the Grand Prix body is not terribly accurate. Kind of got that boxy Racing Champions look. Obviously, Racing Champions was kind of the big diecast producer in these days, so obviously you had a lot of that going on. But look at that. Now, I remember you may notice the Mark Martin was the same way, and the reason that is because we had a hearth, a brick hearth, and in front of our house where a fireplace was, and there was a place where the bricks would go underneath or above the carpet, and you could ram a car in there like it crashed into the wall, and so that's where that scuff mark is on a lot of my older cars from crashing in the wall like that. So we'll move on to Rusty Wallace's car, the number 2 Rusty paint scheme. I think this is a Winner's Circle car. When Winner's Circle just kind of showed up on the scene, Rusty time. I think this was my brother's, actually. There were a lot of cars that were not 100% mine. I think a lot of these were my brother's. And I believe, indeed, this is a Winner's Circle. Yeah, Hasbro Inc., so this one's a Winner's Circle car. Not too much to go over about that. I don't have many memories of it, but for you Rusty fans, it's a nice one to take a look at. Here's another interesting paint scheme, actually a really beautiful paint scheme from the first year of the Ford Taurus in NASCAR. More hair. You'll notice dust and hair is going to be a big part of this video. But the Prime Star scheme for Kevin LePage. This was a fun paint scheme. Beautiful car. Love the blue and yellow. Just very nice, and obviously the Ford Taurus logo. I think this car was in a lot of crashes because I think Kevin LePage crashed a lot in his NASCAR days. And not too much to go over on this one, but it's an interesting paint scheme that I don't think comes up very much. Not a lot of people look at it, so that's pretty cool. Another cool paint scheme is Dick Trickle's number 90 Helig Myers furniture car. And obviously really cool with the light teal, or the teal with the black. Kind of reminds you of a Simon Pagenaud car from last year. But number 90, almost the correct number 91. And in fact, we do have a number 91 car coming up later on in this video. But yeah, Dick Trickle, interesting name for a driver. And I think this is an interesting paint scheme. Very cool looking paint scheme. Certainly unique. Certainly the color scheme is very memorable. And obviously you can see it got a lot of play out of me. Okay, so we're moving on to a Hot Wheels car. And this is the Character Counts number 50 Boy Scouts car. This car never raced. I believe this was a promo diecast. It was given to me in a scavenger hunt my mom put on for us, which was kind of interesting and cool. This was the prize at the end of the scavenger hunt. So there you go. Not too much to go over. Obviously, it's a Ford Taurus body from Hot Wheels. I don't think they used this all that much. And it's kind of interesting to see how kind of inaccurate these diecasts were back in these days, especially now when you kind of compare them to these days. Moving on to another car that NASCAR Authentics fans are going to be very up to date on, and it's the Mac Tonight scheme. I think I mentioned in my review when I showed off the Mac Tonight car in NASCAR Authentics that I did indeed have this car and played with it quite a bit, as you can see. Dust on the back. Super 8 Motels. Amico, a lot of logos on this car that you just don't see anymore on NASCARs. You got Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, 94, and Mac Tonight on there. And obviously this one's on the Thunderbird body, so you get that nice boxy look to it. Pretty cool. I think there's some McDonald's information there on the back, or on the bottom. 1996 McDonald's Corporation. So yeah, that's a very nice paint scheme. Very cool. And we're going to move on to another car. Oops, I hit my mic there. That might come up in the video. But you got the Luxair number 99. I think this is a Busch Series car. And it's on the Monte Carlo body. Now, this is kind of like a premium diecast. It's kind of weird. Phil Parsons, by the way, is the driver. And it's just weird. It's a white car with the red, gold, and blue with Luxair on the back. But it's a metal base on the car and a metal body. Now, whatever reason, it's kind of loose. It's weird. And I don't know where this car came from or how I got it, but it's definitely an interesting diecast for sure. This one's not one I don't think that comes up very much. So those of you who like rare diecast, here's one for the record books. And let's move on to one that's kind of iconic and kind of a good pair with the Prime Star car. Is the Cheerios Pop Secret number 26 Taurus for Johnny Benson. This is a cool looking car. Hamburger Helper. Love me some Hamburger Helper, along with Cheerios. This is when you got Betty Crocker involved. You got a lot of the mom sponsors involved in NASCAR, for lack of a better term, because for whatever reason, women were kind of becoming a big part of NASCAR's demographic, and for whatever reason, the companies that generally try to advertise towards women kind of came into NASCAR. So that's why you got cars like the Cheerios, Pop Secret, Hamburger Helper, Betty Crocker car. So that's pretty cool. This was a nice one. This was a fun one to have, but I couldn't tell you where I got it. Okay, now we're moving into some modern stuff once again. And we've got Matt Kenseth's Hot Wheels Ford Taurus. Now this one got a lot of use from me. I think I got this for my birthday in 2000 or 1999, maybe even as late as 2001. But I think this is the 2000 version of the car. And it's got the very nice yellow rims, metal chassis. 1999. So I probably would have gotten this in 2000. And you've got the metal chassis, rubber tires, and metal body. Obviously, the Ford Taurus body looks a little bit better on this car than it did on the Character Counts car, but yeah, I definitely use this car a lot. This is another car that would have been running up front at a lot of my races as a kid, so that's a lot of fun. Let's move on to the next car, which is a very iconic scheme, because I think it won the Daytona 500 twice in a row, is the Kodak film car. I believe this is Sterling Marlin's car. And this is another car that ran up at the front a lot. Obviously, as the years went on, I had to change it to a Robbie Gordon car. I think maybe Kevin LePage drove this car. Yeah, this is just an iconic paint scheme. And it was one that was part of NASCAR for a very long time. So you got to use your diecast for a very long time because it just kind of translated. This one has a plastic base, so this is just a generic Racing Champions car. Very nice. And here's a car that you would expect that I would have run up front a lot, considering the number, but really this was one of my backmarker teams. You've got the Spam number 91 with the Kid's Kitchen. I always was intrigued by that sponsor as a kid. I was like, ooh, what's Kid's Kitchen? Probably is terrible reheated food. And I believe this is a Kyle Petty car. Maybe it's not. I don't know. That says Mike something. Mike Wallace? Mike Wallace. Okay, this is a Mike Wallace car. Back in those days when you would get random drivers like Mike Wallace diecast made. But yeah, this is a nice looking paint scheme. You got the primary colors of blue, red, and yellow. And obviously, again, the correct number. But there's not too much else to go over aside from the fact that Spam used to sponsor race cars. Oh yeah, and this is fun. They have the can openers on the rear, the hood there, and I think on the front hood as well. Yep, there you go. So can openers, that's a kind of a cool livery choice, but not much else to go over about the Spam car. Moving on to the 36 car, which I do not remember who this driver is. I don't think I ever knew who this driver was. But the Stanley Tools number 36 is a Pontiac. It's a Busch Series car, not a Winston Cup car. But maybe it says here. Maybe Steve Grissom. I remember seeing something like that. I think it may be Steve Grissom, but you never know. So not too much to go over on this one. You can see it did have some serious damage to the front end there. Yeah, not too much to go over, but pretty nice looking paint scheme, I must say. It was fun to pretend to do Busch Series races just like Winston Cup races and whatnot back in the day. And here's a car that was a surrogate Jimmy Johnson car for a while. Don't remember where I got this one either. I think it's a Winter Circle as well. And you can tell the Winter Circle molds back in the day were not very good. I'd say Hot Wheels probably had the best ones. Racing Champions was second, and then Winter Circle was bringing up the rear because it's just weirdly proportioned if you look at it. Yeah, I don't know where I got this one. It may have been in a flea market or something. But obviously this is a Mike Skinner Lowe's car. And Valspar Paints, the old Valspar Paints logo. So yeah, not too much to go over, but obviously those of you who like the old Lowe's cars will like that one. And here's a car that got a lot of use as the days went on. This is a car I got for Christmas in, I think, 2000 or 1999. And I got it with Tony Stewart's Home Depot Indy car. You got both of those cars kind of in a set. So this is produced by Racing Champions, and you can see Racing Champions really stepped up their game in the late 90s. This is the beautiful Pontiac body, and it's more or less accurate, maybe a little bit low in the back here. But obviously I recreated a lot of Tony Stewart's exploits with this car. Beautiful car. Actually, let's look on the bottom here. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure. Hasbro. No, it's a... I guess this car is a Hasbro, so it's a Winter Circle. All right, didn't know that. So, yeah, Winter Circle definitely knocked this one out of the park. And this is another car that was a throwback in the Darlington race earlier or last year. So, yeah, this car got a lot of use from me. Beautiful car, obviously rookie stripe. So this is a Tony Stewart rookie car. Husky Tools, which was sponsoring cars up until very recently, as well as Home Depot was. So let's move on to another really cool car. I believe this is definitely one of my brothers, though, but it's the 28 Haviland Iron Man Ricky Rudd car, and this car has a bit of a secret, but we'll get to that in just a second. This is a metal body, metal chassis, and rubber tires. This came from a store in the mall, the Greenwood Park Mall in Indiana, which was like a racing store. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was kind of interesting. Car also has an opening hood, which is really cool with the Haviland logos underneath it. I think this is an action car, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see if we get any. I think it may say action right there. But the cool thing about this car is the body comes off, and the bare chassis is exposed underneath, along with the roof flat or the window net, the driver's seat, the gauges, the shifter, all painted in there. So this was a fun car to wreck as a kid, that's for sure, because you could take all that stuff out. You can see the fuel line there going into the gas tank. Just a beautiful looking diecast. And obviously I know the generic comment is going to be, that car is more detailed than the 124s are now. Yep. It was a different time back in those days. And here's the body of Ricky Rudd's car off of its base, and then you just kind of plug it back in, and there you go. Pretty cool diecast, that one for sure. And we'll move on to another really iconic paint scheme. Jeff Burton's number 99 X-Side Ford Thunderbird. The pink is always a good choice, and there's something on the back of that. I don't know what that is. You've got X-Side parts, X-Side batteries, excuse me. More scuffing on the front because of crash damage, and this one's gotten upside down at some point, as you can see. Really cool diecast, this one. Another car that ran up at the front quite a bit in my races because Jeff Burton was running up at the front during this time period in NASCAR in the 99 car. So this is a really cool car. Definitely some good memories there. Move on to Michael Waltrip's number 21 Citgo car, the Citgo Ford Taurus. Beautiful looking paint scheme, very bright orange. This is another car I got in a scavenger hunt that my mom put on, so that's always fun. Ford Taurus, Citguard. This is a beautiful paint scheme. I really do like this diecast quite a bit. And it's from the 50th anniversary NASCAR marketing blitz, if you're old enough to remember that. That was pretty crazy. NASCAR products and logos were on everything back in those days. Very interesting. But this is a beautiful paint scheme, and definitely some good memories there. We move on to a very beautifully painted car. And this is a Monte Carlo. I believe it's Randy LaJoie's Kleenex number 33 with this indigo purple on the car with the light blue. Really love this paint scheme. It looks very nice. And obviously this is kind of the newer version of the Racing Champions cars when they start adding these fairings to kind of lower the cars a bit. Kind of interesting contrast from kind of the older versions of these cars, but yeah, this is a very nice looking car. Scott Products as well. They're still in NASCAR. Oh, Tim Fedewa, not Randy LaJoie. So yeah, more Busch Series cars on there. And here's another one that's very, very important. Is Jeff Gordon's, I think 1995 DuPont Chevrolet. And as you can see, this one got a lot of play because Jeff Gordon was kind of the guy in this era of NASCAR. So you kind of had to play with his car and use it a lot and run it up front. And you can see how faded it is. But you really, this is one that won a lot of my races back in the day, that's for sure. And you got Coca-Cola, which is interesting because of the controversy with Pepsi and Coke now, and with the Monster Energy sponsorship and DuPont Automotive finishes. Very bright orange. I think this is one of the only year they usually really use this bright orange, and they kind of went back to red. But yeah, this is a very well loved diecast, but certainly one that I love quite a bit because of its history. Another one of the promo cars from the cereal boxes is Kyle Petty's Sprint Dodge. This is another one you got in cereal boxes. It was always nice to get these in the cereal boxes. Meant you ate a lot of cereal, but as a racing fan back in those days, when you got diecast in cereal boxes, that was always a good thing. So a beautiful car, this one. Obviously a tribute to Adam Petty. And I don't think this car ran up front very much because it didn't really run up front in real life. Here's another big one. Dale Earnhardt's Winner's Circle Chevrolet. This car came in a pit lane set. I think you guys are probably aware of those. The pit lane sets where you got the pit crew and kind of a display base with it. You can see 25th anniversary of Dale Earnhardt, and so that's where I got my first true back in black Dale Earnhardt car. And this was a fun one to race, obviously, because Dale Earnhardt was one of the big guns in NASCAR back in those days. And this is one that always ran up at the front, battled with Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon and all them. And it is indeed a winner's circle car. So, this is definitely a iconic paint scheme, iconic car. And, a lot of people are going to be wanting to look at that one for sure. This is an interesting one. I think this came out of a big set of cars. I don't think it's an official car, but it's interesting. It's a Buick. It's, as you can see, big Buick logos on this one. Plastic base. It's a Maisto. What does this say? Buick LeSabre stock car. Interesting. And the Carolina Kid drives it. So does anyone know who the Carolina Kid is? Who drove a Buick number 24 with a Ram sponsorship and Valvoline and Edelbrock and Bell helmets? Anybody know? But this was kind of a classic NASCAR. I don't remember if it ran in many of my races, but there you go. Let's move on to the 32 car. This is a Scott Pruitt diecast, which is kind of fun. I think I got this car at the same time I got Matt Kenseth's car, and it is this one, the Tide Ride. This one is a beautiful car. This is not the only Tide Ride I had. I had a Ricky Rudd as well from Racing Champions. For whatever reason, that car is not in this box, so we'll have to find that someday. But you got metal body, metal chassis, rubber tires, and a Scott Pruitt diecast from NASCAR, which is kind of a different sort of thing. But this diecast feels so nice. It always felt so nice. The paint finish is just really thick and very, very solid, very high quality diecast. Beautiful car, this one. Really love it. And one of my favorites growing up as a kid. Another one of my favorites is this Hot Wheels number 44 Kyle Petty car. I got this with some pajamas. Yep, I got this diecast with a pair of pajamas. That's a thing that happened, and they in fact had this car all over those pajamas. So it was a Kyle Petty themed pajama set with a Kyle Petty car. But man, the Hot Wheels scheme, especially when it was a light blue with the loop-de-loop track and the white bumper, man, this is one of the better looking NASCARs of all time in my opinion. The Pontiac body obviously has always been one of my favorites, and this just works. Just fantastic with the red rims as well. You can see this one got a lot of play. Beautiful car. Beautiful. Fantastic. So here's one I don't know a lot to talk about. It's a Unicall Ford racing car. I think this may have come from the Dollar Tree. I can't remember exactly where this one came from, but it's just a generic Ford racing car, and there's really not a lot to go over about it, but I'll show it off anyway. Who produced it? Imperial, 1998. So Imperial Diecast produced that, as I almost dropped it. So there you go. The Unicall 76 car. Not too much to go over on that one. We move on to another kind of iconic diecast, is the QVC Jeff Bodine car. I believe Jeff Bodine drove this. Salsa sponsored this car. Something Salsa. Craftsman. Obviously, QVC was a big part of NASCAR back in those days, and I think up until just recently we're kind of big in NASCAR. It's cool to see the fluorescent orange on this car. Kind of gives it a bit of a different vibe. This is the first Hot Wheels Thunderbird we've taken a look at, I believe. So this was from Hot Wheels Pro Racing. Rubber tires, metal base, metal body. Beautiful looking car. Can't say much more about that one. Here's another interesting car. It's the Powerpuff Girls, or whatever, Cartoon Network car. Don't remember who this driver is. I think it's another Winner's Circle car. I think both me and my brother had this, so there are two of these out there, at least in my collection somewhere. But This is an interest. This is when Cartoon Network Wacky Racing sponsored a car for some reason. NASCAR had a lot of weird sponsors back in the 90s, and for some reason they all had diecast made of them. Because of course they did. 2000 Cartoon Network, so this is a 2000 diecast or a 1999 diecast. Something just fell out of the car. Doesn't really surprise me. Here's another cereal promo. I think this is one we got from a garage sale, though. John Andretti's number 43 Dodge car, Kroger Racing. So maybe it was a Kroger exclusive car. But yeah, this is another one of the ones you would have gotten in the cereal box. I think it's a more recent one because they did actually paint the lettering on the tires, or maybe that's opposite day. But yeah, Racing Champions did a lot of promos for these cereal boxes, and there's not a lot to go over on that one. Here's a funny one. It's not really a diecast. It's a Taco Bell Velveeta taco holder shaped like Mark Martin's car. This was something we got for the Brickyard 400 one year, and we'll see if this actually still opens. The idea is, you can see there's a Taco Bell logo on the back. The idea was you bought a taco shell box, and this holds your taco. So it's a race car that holds your taco, but I just used it as a diecast because, of course I did. So there you go, the Taco Bell Craft Mark Martin car. I may be the only person to still have one of these, by the way. Maybe the last one in existence. And here's a 38 Barbasol car. Elton Sawyer. I actually met Elton Sawyer at a Meijer store, got his autograph, got to sit in his car. And this was like in the 90s, like 99, 98. I was a very young boy, but I got to sit in this car, and I got to own this car. Though this car actually kind of became a Dale Jarrett surrogate more than it was an Elton Sawyer car, because I think it obviously shares the same colors, and I think it shares a lot of the same sponsors. Easy Care, I think, is a sponsor that was on Dale Jarrett's car. But yeah, this is a cool car. This is one, again, I have a lot of good memories from, and it definitely tells you how nice the and simple NASCAR schemes used to be. Just a simple red, white, and blue paint scheme. That's always nice to see. Here we go, Wally Dallenbach with the first Union car, Chevrolet Hot Wheels car. It's a metal body, metal chassis, rubber tires as usual with the Hot Wheels cars. Cool sponsor here, ColorWorks, for whatever reason. That just looks really nice. Usually rainbow colors kind of look good together sometimes. And you've obviously got First Union, I think, is a bank, which doesn't exist anymore, as far as I'm aware. But they did sponsor NASCAR, so that's always good. This may have been a teammate to the 13 Dan Marino car. It wasn't Dan Marino driving, obviously. I think it was like Jerry Nadeau, maybe. But I feel like that was the teammate to this car. But correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Then you've got a car that I love very much is the STP Pontiac for John Andretti. And this is a beautiful car. It's a teammate, obviously, to my Hot Wheels sponsored car. I had to beg my mom at Kroger to get me this car one time, and she finally ended up buying it for me after I begged like 2 or 3 times we went to Kroger. But it's got a fluorescent orange paint scheme. It just looks very beautiful, and this is one I just absolutely love to have. Another Hot Wheels car, as you can probably tell from just kind of the style that Hot Wheels had back in these days. Love this this outline here on the front. Just looks very nice. Very nice, this car. Yeah, I do really like this car. We'll even take a close-up on this one just because of how nice it looks. Love it. Love that one. Love that car. So now we'll move on to another one of the Imperial cars. Ford Taurus, Ford Racing, number 1. Not too much to talk about on this car. To be honest with you, not too much to talk about. Did anyone have these cars? And if you did, do you have any more information on what they are, where they came from? Because I honestly don't remember. Here's another car that ran up at the front in a lot of my races. This is, I think, a cereal box promo. A Kellogg's Corn Flakes Terry Labonte car. You had to put the stickers on yourself, and only one of those stickers still survives. As you can see, Kellogg's Frosted Flakes on there. But yeah, the stickers fell off pretty quickly, except for the ones that were printed on. Frosted Mini Wheats. Maybe we got it in a Frosted Mini Wheats box. I don't know. Obviously, metal top, metal bottom. You actually got these. This was actually one of the first cereal promos that Kellogg's did with NASCAR, and it wasn't the last. They actually did a pullback promotion later on, which had like 30 cars that you could get. It was crazy. Here's one of my favorite diecasts of all time, is the Winner's Circle Dale Jarrett, easy for me to remember. Dale Jarrett Quality Care Ford. I begged my mom for this car terribly, like excessively. Every time we went to Walmart, I would see this car and I would beg for it because Dale Jarrett was my favorite driver back in the day, and wanting his diecast was a big priority of mine. And I finally got it for my birthday, so that was really cool. And as you can see, it got a lot of play. In fact, I've worn off the Goodyear on the tires. This one again got a lot of play, but yeah, not the most accurate car in the world when you look at it, for sure. It's a Thunderbird, but yeah, it's a lot of good memories from this guy. A lot of good memories. So we're moving on to the last few cars here. This is the 36 M&M's car. I think I got this car from a Target store, which no longer exists in Greenwood, Indiana, next to the Greenwood Park Mall, which doesn't exist anymore, like I said. So, yeah, I think I may have gotten this on the day of the 2000 Daytona 500, or maybe the 2001 Daytona 500. Or close to that, close to the 2001 Daytona 500, I feel like. Maybe on one of the qualifying days. But I remember this car specifically wrecking when I had this car. And as you can see, the blue M&M did not make it out okay. He got wrecked. And this is another Hot Wheels car. And yeah, the red M&M is in trouble too. Hot Wheels car, so metal body and the metal base and the rubber tires, but beautiful paint scheme again on the Pontiac body, so that's always nice to look at. Here's another cereal promo. This is one of the later cereal promos, the Lucky Charms 43. I think this maybe have been one of the last times they ever did this, and I'm pretty sure Hot Wheels produced this one, not Racing Champions. So kind of a different body. In fact, I think it's the same body as on the Ryan Newman car. Let's take a look here. I see Thailand, and yes, Hot Wheels. So yeah, Hot Wheels did it, and it's the same body and mold as the Ryan Newman car. Looks very nice. In fact, Hot Wheels really stepped up their game kind of later on in their NASCAR diecast producing days. So again, another John Andretti car. Let's move on to the last two cars here. This one's kind of cool. It's the Halford Tools, kind of a ripoff of Binford Tools, 41 car from Hot Wheels. This isn't a real car. It's got a metal body, metal top, but you may notice something here, and that's because you can crash the car, which is kind of fun. You can break it in half and have all sorts of crazy crashes with it. So this one got a lot of use, and not sure what it's supposed to actually be in terms of a stock car, but there you go. Maybe a Thunderbird now that I look at it. And the final car is Ernie Irvin's number 28 Texaco Haviland car, Ford Thunderbird. It's from Hot Wheels, and this one got a lot of play as well, as you can see. Ran up at the front a lot. You've got the red bottom on this one, which is really cool. But yeah, I use this one a lot because of the Haviland sponsorship. Always a very nice paint scheme, and this is one that ran up at the front a lot during that era of NASCAR. So definitely one I had to use a lot. Clean System 3, which is pretty cool. So this is from 1996 or 1995 or whatever. Yeah, really, really cool. Love this one. Love this paint scheme. Another one with great memories. So that is my my look at my collection of childhood NASCAR stock cars. Let me know in the comments if you made it to the end, what you think. What are your favorite diecasts? Did you have any of these cars as a kid as well? And let me know about your memories down in the comments. It should be an interesting discussion. So thank you guys so much for watching this. This has been David Land on YouTube. Subscribe for more racing content coming down the pipeline. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.